is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the info war. There's a lot of evidence that Hugo Chavez's political communist heir stole the election last year. And now they're on the verge of civil war in Venezuela, where the power has been going out on a daily basis, where there's food shortages, incredible inflation, 50+% per month in some months. DrudgeReport.com has the headline, Venezuela on the brink, showing the riot police with their shotguns. So that is just some of the news going on as we look what it's like to live under a kleptocratic government. Speaking of kleptocratic government, we're going to be getting into Obama and his latest arrogant statement when we come back from break. Obama says signing up for Obamacare is just part of growing up. And, of course, if you have a business, you didn't build that, and it's part of your responsibility to pay a foreign tax to offshore cartels. And Republicans say Obama violated the Constitution, but little can be done about it. That's what Fox News is reporting. Yeah, no one has violated the Constitution more than Obama in modern history. Abraham Lincoln violated it even more than Obama. But you could argue that was during a civil war. And the Obama-oids, or the Obama-ites, the Obama supporters, they've been billing him as Lincoln from the time he ran for president. Going back about 8 years ago, about a year and a half before he got into office, they were already calling him the new Lincoln. And saying he would have to seize power if people got in his way. Clearly, that would be illegitimate if he did that. If he tries to start some civil war with gun confiscation or something. The Civil War of the 1860s was much more complex and was an ongoing struggle going back to the days of the colonies between unfair taxation between the industrial North and the agrarian farming South. And that was the main issue, was tariffs and trade, not slavery. But in the modern textbooks, it is a fanciful piece of propaganda, just like global warming or other fairy tales. The truth is the evil of slavery was already on its way out when the Civil War started. But that in itself is a diversionary historical factoid. The issue is Obama is becoming a dictator, and even mainline publications point out, like the Washington Times, Obama's executive actions can backfire on Democrats if GOP takes the White House. Well, it's like Ron Paul used to say, if he got elected president, he couldn't just fix everything because he couldn't act as a dictator. I mean, let's say Rand Paul or Ted Cruz got elected. They couldn't piece by piece implement or unimplement, de-implement Obamacare. You just can't do that as the president. Obama is doing that to selectively let his friends off the hook. And that's the very nature, the very blood, the very elixir of corruption and discrimination, is to have a political system where things are selectively enforced, where justice is not blind. And this New World Order system with the NSA and all its surveillance systems is completely aware, hyper-aware of what's going on, and uses all these systems to game the global infrastructure to consolidate total control in their hands. And that's the debate we've got to have. That's the issue that's got to be discussed if we're going to turn this around. So that's just some of what's coming up. There's just so much news today. We are going to get a very interesting national security expert on to talk about real terror threats here in North America. The globalists have controlled the mainstream media for a long time, but now they're expanding and making the weaponization even more vicious and deceptive. All the major networks are state-run.
We are partnering this year with the NFL.
The NFL has become a political weapon against the Second Amendment and pushes Obamacare. MSNBC tells us that our children belong to the state.
We have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
The brainwashing media machine has been turned up on high, and it's time for humanity to double down on the true people's media and strike back against the tyrants that are destroying our civilization with their lies and fraud. We are the resistance. You are the resistance. You are the info war. It is more important than ever to realize that we are not the alternative media. We are the true media. The establishment dinosaur press is dying.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
Join us at InfoWarsNews.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Members can share their memberships with up to 11 people. By subscribing, you will literally be buying war bonds in the info war to expand our operation in the face of the tyrants. Join us at PrisonPlanet.tv. Venezuela is teetering on the edge, on the brink of a civil war as the opposition leader is being sought for arrest, and he's calling for a march that he will lead where he plans to be arrested, obviously catapulting himself into cult status to then counter the communist leader of the country who clearly stole the last election after the dear leader Hugo Chavez went up to the big Politburo in the sky. So we're going to be breaking all of that down today. We've got Chase imposes new capital controls on cash deposits. Remember, Chase started doing this for people transferring money out of the country last year, and then a bunch of other banks followed suit, and they tried to basically deny these were capital controls. Well, now you can't, after you, say run a cakewalk or, some type of event to raise money for charity, you can't just put it in an envelope under the account's number and go drop it in the bank. Like I did many times when I was a child, my dad or my mom, after some charity event, would go drop it in the local bank, the $100, $200, whatever they'd raised. Now you've got to come in and show an ID because you might be a money launderer. Meanwhile, they let the illegals get bank accounts without IDs on record. They let the big mega banks launder hundreds of billions of dollars a year conservatively here in the U.S. alone, all on record. But they're going to stop money laundering and everything. No, it's about tracking everything you do and controlling small business. That's why they're trying to shut down the lemonade stands, the bake sales. That's why they're harassing anybody that, tries to have a co-op where you work with a farmer to have cows for you that he takes care of, then he butchers for you so you get your own fresh organic meat, and it turns out being cheaper than the stuff you buy at the store. They don't want that type of economy being rediscovered. They want you to only buy out of their big box stores. So we're going to be breaking that down as well. Oliver Stone has come out over the weekend. Paul Watson wrote an article at Infowars.com. It's on DrudgeReport.com as well. Oliver Stone, Obama's lack of spine is stunning. Leftist filmmaker Oliver Stone slammed President Barack Obama during an event this past week, accusing Obama of selling out as soon as he got into office, exhibiting a stunning lack of spine. He previously called him a snake. And by the way, whenever I say that most of Hollywood is awake, most Hollywood people I talk to know about the New World Order, know about global governance, know about eugenicists, know about the real system, because they're smart people. And they don't want to be liberal and they don't want to be conservative. They just want to be pro-liberty. They're more libertarian. And by the way, Oliver Stone was speaking at a libertarian conference put on by the Future of Freedom Foundation. So there's an example right there. That's why the libertarians are exploding, because there are people on the left and the right who are getting outside those labels and just saying, you know what, I want local control, I want transparency, I don't want offshore corporate directives running my life. And the left is starting to figure out that big corporations have been financing big government the whole time, not as some empowerment mechanism, but as a monopoly mechanism. There's been a pipe bomb discovered in carry-on luggage at Anchorage Airport. TSA agents found what Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport police have described as a pipe bomb in a carry-on luggage of a man ticketed on an oil worker flight to North Slope Sunday, forcing an hour shutdown of the security checkpoint. The man initially claimed the small explosive was a avalanche device, said Jesse Davis, chief of the airport police and fire department. I don't know of any avalanche dangers up there on the North Slope, he said. The FBI is interviewing the man whose name has not yet been released. Police downplayed the incident, saying the public was never in danger and the pipe bomb appeared to lack any triggering device. No motive is yet known. You know, I just know the criminology. Most of the time, if it's not a staged attack, it is people that have a fetish of seeing if they could sneak something through airport security. I've just seen this over and over again. I love firefighters. They're great people on average and are wonderful folks. But the police know, and you can look this up, that most of the time when a pipe bomb is found or if there's a suspicious fire that some volunteer firefighter shows up at first, that in many cases, it's a very small minority, but still that minority is responsible for a lot of the arson and a lot of the pipe bomb activity. And I just saw this over the last 18, 19 years on air, that so many times you'd hear about a firefighter getting busted planting a pipe bomb that was inert and then finding the pipe bomb and defusing it and being a hero. They've caught police bomb squad people doing the same thing. Can you imagine being on a bomb squad and never having any real bombs to dismantle? And millions are spent in every major city per year with all these robots and the rest of it. So a lot of times the very people who you would expect to be out there trying to stop something are the ones behind it. I mean, I don't know what's behind that. I'm just simply speculating on that whole situation. And I tell you, it's finally starting to hit mainstream news. I mentioned some of this yesterday, and it really is sad. And it's what the whole MSNBC culture has created. Total racial division for big city balkanization politics. Clarence Thomas came out last week and said when he was going to college in Georgia in the 60s, early 60s, that he ran into a fraction. I believe the quote was 1/10 of the uncomfortable race stuff that he runs into now, and that it's the left always pushing it and promoting it. And the so-called liberal media absolutely viciously attacked him for saying, quote, "My sadness is that we're probably today more race and difference conscious than I was in the 60s when I was at school. To my knowledge, I was the first black kid in Savannah, Georgia to go to a white school. Rarely did the issue of race come up," Thomas said. Now, name a day it doesn't come up. Differences in race, differences in sex, anybody doesn't look at you right, somebody says something, everybody is sensitive. If I had been as sensitive as that in the 1960s, I'd still be in Savannah. And he goes on with more quotes, basically repeating what he said earlier. And they came out and viciously attacked him. Meanwhile, it came out in two different articles yesterday. One of them a disabled vet, another one some guy going home at night, whites being beaten up in Cleveland and many other areas, and being told on video, because the gangs shoot the video, beat up that cracker, take his money. And you see the racial attacks in Austin that happen almost every day that I see it in the news every week, so guaranteed it's going on every day. I talk to folks that live downtown, they say it's epidemic. And it's predominantly black males, young black males, going out and beating up hippies that they see are defenseless and weak. And I guess a nation of sheep will be ruled by wolves. But that's what's going on. Now we have a mob of black kids terrorizing Victoria's Secret shoppers. And that's being reported on. I mean, this is really becoming a serious situation, and this was not going on 6 years ago. This was not going on. I mean, this is very rare to have this type of stuff, and it's racially motivated, and it's just like the Klan going out and rolling some black guy coming out of his business at night. And why would racist white groups go target people? Well, because, you know, they're a bad group, so they don't, you know, they don't deserve freedom. Let's go beat them up. It's the same thing with rolling gay people. The term rolling that went on for 50 years in this country. If young fraternity guys or whatever wanted to go steal somebody's wallet and get some money for beer, well, they're good Christian men, so they wouldn't beat up just a regular person and take their money. They would go find two guys coming out of a gay bar and beat them half to death and then take their money, because it was seen as culturally acceptable to do that. Well, it's not culturally acceptable to beat up a white person, a black person, a gay person, a straight person, a old person, a young person, just because, I mean, I see cases where people get beat up for the sports team they're wearing. One time in college, I walked into a bar with a black football hat cap. I can't remember even what the symbol was. And they came over and said, "You can't wear that hat." And I said, "Why?" And they said, "Don't ask, we're going to throw you out." And I said, "Okay, I'll take it off." You know, thug bouncers. And I was there with some dates. And I went over later and I said, "Really? I just want to know why." And he went, "Because it's gang related. That's a gang hat." And who knows, it might have been. I just didn't know. This shows how mindless all of this is. And it's completely out of control. But here's the story right here. Black mobs terrorize Victoria's Secret shoppers. This is from WorldNet Daily. It was also in the Associated Press. And it goes on. Some were surprised to hear about the black mob violence on Valentine's Day at Victoria's Secret in Norfolk, Virginia. Not at the violence. The gallery at Military Circle has been the site of dozens of episodes of racial lawlessness over the last 2 years, but of which has gone unreported in the local paper. The surprise is that the mall is still open. Most of its major tenants are gone or leaving. Sears, JCPenney, the nearly DoubleTree also closed. The big draw there is the movie theater with cheap tickets. More than 25% of the space is vacant. Deadmalls.com says the mall is a zombie that is really dead but just acts alive. The latest example of black mob violence came on Valentine's Day as a large group of people fought in Victoria's Secret store. One guy pulled out a gun and shot someone in the leg. In urban lingo, shooting someone in the leg is called leg warming. It is often a warning about comparing with police or selling drugs or competing with them in someone else's territory or even refusing to give someone a pit bull puppy. And it just goes on from there.
You are watching the best of The Alex Jones Show, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Watch live at Infowars.com/show or become a member of InfoWarsNews.com and help us take resistance to the next level.
When I say MSNBC more than anybody else is responsible for this epidemic of new racism in this country, it's true. I mean, you turn it on, it has a tiny audience, but still it's adhered to by Obama worshipers. Any opposition to Obamacare, to anti-gun movements, to globalism, to anything, to debt limits being increased, if you have any opposition to that, you're a racist. And they sit up there and say it with authority. And so the idea is, well, people aren't being friendly to Obama because they're racist. And it becomes this anti-white movement because the Democratic Party has become a purely racialist party based on race baiting, race pimping, race hustling. That's exactly what goes on. And I'm sick of it. Everybody I know is sick of it. And it is meant to take a president who people elected, including a large portion of whites, hoping to bring unity, and they've used it absolutely to create disunity and control, to the point with political correctness now that a student was forced to apologize for emailing a picture of Obama kicking a door because of racism. That's right, it was seen as somehow racist to email a picture of Obama kicking a door. Just, if anything is seen as a bad light, I guess if flies land on Obama and you see it, that means you're racist. And, you know, we laugh at this, but this is mind control. While they discriminate against all of us, I don't care what color you are, where you're from, with these foreign banks with Obamacare. And think about Obamacare, doubling, tripling, quadrupling, depending on your plan, cutting the quality of care, kicking people off their pre-existing plans, kicking people with pre-existing conditions off, setting up death panels, rationing care, everything we said it would do, quite frankly, worse than I thought. I mean, we knew what was in the bill, but it's even worse than we thought. So we were wrong. It's worse than we thought. Ted Cruz was wrong. It's worse than he said. But if they can get away with that, why not do more? I mean, they really are getting away with everything right now. And that's why the whole establishment is going with the Democrats. If the Republicans were getting all this stuff done, I'd be against them as well. But with the Democrats, they have found their wedge, and they are driving it right into our heart. And Ann Coulter's right when she said that he would be impeached if he were not black. And she's absolutely right. That is the only issue, and it's the triumph of political correctness. It's why Hillary Clinton, even though she's so corrupt and has so much baggage and is such a warmonger and such a fraud, she may get elected because, well, I mean, she's a woman. I mean, you're not against women, are you? You've got to elect her or you're against women. But then Sarah Palin, who is an angel compared to Hillary Clinton, certainly not perfect, but an angel. Oh, she's stupid. She's an idiot. But when the left calls her an idiot and a moron, they're not putting a woman down. They're just putting some, lady with a weird accent from Alaska down. I mean, and making it see. It's a total double standard with these people. Let's go ahead and go to Coulter's comment on this.
He is vetoing legislation by refusing to enforce it. The Constitution demands that the President of the United States take care that the laws be faithfully executed. He has simply taken it upon himself to rewrite Obamacare, to rewrite immigration laws, you indicated with the Dreamers thing, to rewrite drug laws.
Now, let's expand on that. Let's go to this clip where Obama tells Charles Barkley signing up for Obamacare is just part of growing up.
We'd like to encourage more young people to sign up, partly because since they're healthier, their premiums are actually generally going to be fairly cheap. They can find good options for less than their cable bill, less than their cell phone bill. And it's just part of growing up, is making sure that you're taking care of your body, taking care of your health. And if you've got a young family, you've got to make sure that your family is protected with health insurance as well. And this allows you to do it.
By the way, he said for everybody it'd be cheaper than your phone bill or cable bill. And, of course, that's not true. It's massively increased it. They admit Obamacare will fail for the big insurance companies that wrote it with the Republican leadership, you notice, if they can't get all the young, dumb people to sign up for it at what is, in some cases, 5 times what it used to be for young people.